Fast forward, any come out channel, so I'll say Age Politics Avenue. Podcast also trying to make headlines. And a jamre na EDB exum and EDB young Raximu, Mestok say young political highways in na lawyer Martin Kpebu Edna no ato a year OSP si ejabin ni prosecutorial powers a year high court etumi agye afiri nsɛm a wɔde ama attorney general na papa yi agye mmerɛ ɛwɔ key point dwumadie so a wɔkyerɛkyerɛ n'adwen ɛfa saa nsɛm osie ho na bɛsrɛ wo sɛ yɛnkɔ ɛyɛ private legal practitioner yi aso ɛyɛ abra a wɔgye mmerɛ na ɔkyerɛ n'adwen aha age politics avenue bɛsrɛ sɛ yɛmmɔ nwura ɛyɛ nsɛmfoɔ anim.
Thank you. Because of your background, not too good, so we cannot take the pictures of where you are. But thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. The High Court determined an application. But then again, there are those who raise concerns about the determination and the decision of the High Court today getting into the realms of interpretation, which is actually the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which is set to answer a question on the same substantive issue of the prosecutorial authority of the special prosecutor. Would you also agree with the concerns raised about this decision getting into the realms of interpretation of this OSP Act and then Article 88 before the Supreme Court?
So I can say, I should say that, we are all handicapped because we do not have all the full ruling. I'm relying on excerpts from persons who were in there, who took notes, etc. for me. So far, from what I'm hearing and see in the notes, the judge was not involved in interpretation. All the judge, that's Justice Eugene Nyante. Eugene Nyante.
Yes.
What he did was that he said, look, so the respondents, that's Issa, Seidu, and the rest, brought an application that on what authorization is the special prosecutor prosecuting the offenses. In other words, he should show his authority. I was going to say appointment letter, but that one we know his appointment letter is different.
Yes.
But for that specific case, where is authority? Which document says this case can come to court? Which they are entitled to do. So the judge simply looked at Article 88 and said, look, the police prosecute because there is an EI. Some of the EIs date from the 1970s. And I even have been saying on other platforms, even before the 1970s.
Okay.
I won't be surprised that there were earlier EIs. Apart from the police, you also have customs. You have GRA. You have SNIT. All these categories of persons, there are EIs, they have names. So you hear EI4, EI5, EI20, even electricity. For people who steal electricity, you see their appointment. When I say not appointment letter, but authority to come into court, prosecute. There are EIs for these areas. Mr. Okanse, let me repeat.
Right.
For police, there is a document saying, yes, police can go to court and do X, Y, Z cases,
right,
but don't do murder, don't do this. If you go to GRA, we can, because my background is not good, by Saturday we'll read out all the various EIs. You see what the EIs say. Yeah, by tomorrow we should start reading from the EIs. So there are EIs for police, EI for GRA, EI for electricity cases, and so on and so forth, Forestry Commission, etc. So that's the reasoning the judge is using, that so special prosecutor, where is the EI? So in that case, you can't fault the... So you can't say that that's interpretation. He's just asking for the document. He didn't go far. And you see, in the case of Kpebu Asare, Professor Kpebu Asare versus Attorney General, I think that's the immigration citizenship case. The Supreme Court warned that if we are not careful, any small thing, somebody say, hey, it's an interpretation matter, then a high court or court of appeal or any other court cannot deal with the matter.
I see, but how would you respond to those who say, to the extent that at this time, the Supreme Court is also now beckoned with a case asking the same questions of what is before the High Court? So the judge could have deferred and to the Supreme Court's ruling or outcome of that particular case, so as to ensure that all this conversation about whether or not he overreached his authority will not even come to play.
Mr. Kansi, I really do not subscribe to that. Hello?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah. I think, look, he's free to decide. Justice Eugene Nyante had a case before him, and he decided it's okay where we are developing, where we are getting to, considering the fact that there's a lot of commotion, so to speak, for lack of a better word, around this subject area. It's clear to me that the Supreme Court will deal with it before we go on legal vacation. So, so it won't be long. The Supreme Court will finally decide whether 2 months or latest 3 months. But I don't see the Supreme Court going beyond 3 months. We'll be able to finish it. Let's not forget that people say we should wait for Supreme Court. No, if we are thinking about the time, Kisi had been sat on the Oforiatta case, and the Oforiatta ran away from Ghana more than 1 year before he started investigating in January 2025. We lost more than 1 year. The petition against Oforiatta and others was submitted by Manasseh Awuni in December 2023, right? So we had the whole of 2024, no work done. 2025, before investigations were begun on 29th of January, after Oforiatta had bolted. So my point is that people have wasted a lot of time in the past. I didn't see a lot of hue and cry. Let's wait. Whether it's 2 months, but I'm hoping to exceed 3 months. The Supreme Court will clear this, and then we will all know our left from our right.
The case is expected to be heard tomorrow as well, so we'll get an update on how things play out. But Counsel, stay with me. Mr. Anu, co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Mr. Anu, thank you for joining us. Does this development surprise you as an anti-corruption crusader earlier today with this High Court decision on the prosecutorial mandate of the special prosecutor?
Of surprise. I mean, I'm not expecting that a High Court has the mandate to do anything related to interpretation. But I'm told that the case was framed a little differently. I think the surprise on one hand, or on the other hand, in my mind, the OSP is doing a great job. When people get scared and they start trying these tricks, obviously it means that some investigation is getting to some high point, and persons who are likely to be affected are trying to find ways of making sure that the investigation and prosecution do not proceed. So clearly it's being effective. Persons who are uncomfortable are trying to use all their resources to undermine it. But otherwise, I wasn't expecting that any High Court judge would take this kind of trajectory.
I see. I recall speaking to Professor Aaron Michael Quay when lawyer Martin Kpebu was taken into custody, and he was Speaker of Parliament when this OSP law was passed by Parliament. And he says that upon hindsight, he thinks that the office and the law, the crafting of the law itself, has issues, and the setting up of the office has issues. From where you sit, upon hindsight, would you also say that the law establishing the office has its own challenges, which has led to where we are now?
Not at all. I mean, once you're involved in the process, and we were 2017, 2018, and there was a clear consensus at the end of the day. There are few voices who had different opinions, but an overwhelming majority arrived at the conclusion that this is the way to go. Indeed, look, go interview any of the former attorney generals and ministers of justice in Ghana. They will all tell you that it is impossible for them to properly prosecute another member of cabinet or of the government for several reasons. This is not a hidden fact. Just go engage any of the past attorney generals. So for me, it's like rewriting our history. It's like being like attempting to be an ostrich with the head in the sand, where you are trying to suggest that the Attorney General's department could handle these cases. It won't happen. There'll be no fight against persons appointed by government in government who are, involved in corruption. It doesn't really happen. So there's no rethinking, and I'm sure you will find that 95% of civil society leaders will give you the same response. Nothing to rethink here. What needs to be done is to properly and fully entrench this office in the Constitution. By the way, let's not look at Ghana as an island on itself, by itself. Do other countries have the Office of the Special Prosecutor? Absolutely. Is this something that is used to address effectively the fight against corruption, especially where it has to do with persons who are in government? Absolutely. So it's not as if we even have to rethink it in terms of what has worked elsewhere. So no rethinking about the necessity of an office of the special prosecutor. If there's anything left, we need it entrenched in the Constitution.
I see. Mazano, appreciate you for this, and stay with me while I round up with lawyer Martin Kpebu. Adam Senano says this is troubling. I mean, it's one that takes us back when it comes to empowering institutions to fight corruption, because there was a reason why this special prosecutor's office was set up in the first place, to pursue certain cases that, as he referenced, previous attorney general said they found it difficult prosecuting cases involving persons within the governments that they serve in. Now, with this path that we are on, even with the substantive case before the Supreme Court, is it a progressive step forward, or the outcome may be retrogressive eventually?
Now, Mr. Kansi, whichever way the Supreme Court rules, generally, it will be progress for us. Progress because, you see, finally, it will bring, or it will settle the question of whether the special prosecutor can just go ahead and prosecute without further authorization. Remember that if the Supreme Court decides in a way that doesn't sit with the people as justice, the people who express their opinions, and then the political, the government can bring a new law. Because, that's how it goes. So the conversation is sweet. Justice Nyante is done lovely. It's good that we've started this. So the Supreme Court will also be listening. They are also Ghanaians. Mr. Okansi, cut to the chase. The problem we are facing is not about an attorney general being uncomfortable about prosecuting his colleagues. So the way it used to be framed in the past, it was wrong. It was just about the way politicians appoint. Are you saying that the whole of Ghana, you won't find people who can prosecute their colleagues? There are lots of them, but usually those people will not come and join political parties because of the way our politics is done. A lot of deception, so let's call it a lying and the rest. So very principled people in Ghana, they won't do it. But if you just tell him, come into office, you are free to prosecute. Are you saying 34 million people? There are no such people. So those days where they used to say Attorney General finds it difficult to prosecute his people, it's because of the way Attorney Generals were selected. He's a politician. He's not coming in as a professional. So what now? The sweet thing we are now learning is that, so the OSP too is a human being. He's not an angel. Kissie Jabin Sterner has shown us that, he can have special interests, that he's conflicted with Fufuriata. He did work for Fufuriata in the past. He's friends with Gabi Ochredako, the president's cousin. He's friends with Godfred Odami, the attorney general at the time. So they worked all this together, and they brought Kissie Jabin, who, to be honest, if we face the record at the time, was not the best lawyer for that position. It's not as if the position was advertised. It's not as if it was advertised, though. They just handpicked him. It's not like Kissi had a stellar record from the court. Kissi didn't have a stellar record from the court. It's not like he was the best at the bar.
Is your verdict that he wasn't the best for that position? But at the time, the appointing authority thought that he was the best, and so he got the job, is it not?
No, it's not the best. That's what called adverse selection. You choose the one who would come and do your bidding. You see, that kind of thing, a devil selection. Some call it devil selection. They should not choose the one who would do their bidding. So they chose somebody they were comfortable with.
But listening to some NPP persons now, they're not too happy with the special prosecutor, and I know you know this. You've heard them, with how he is also going about prosecuting some persons within the NPP. They're also not happy. I mean, so I'm just drawing that and juxtaposing it with your narrative right now about the special prosecutor.
All I'm concerned about, yes, it should be expected that some of the persons in NPP will not be happy, but watch the facts. The most important thing for me is that he let Oforiatta, the crown jewel, abscond with 5 cases on his neck, came and lied to us. We don't have time to go into the lies, but I have the letters. We have previously published the letters. Then he lied also about, he lied about attempting to arrest Oforiatta, lied about investigations. Manasseh published the diary of action. You see that Oforiatta left 3 weeks later. It was 29th of January 2025 when Oforiatta had gone over 3 weeks. That's when he started investigations, etc.
Okay.
So you see that, then it showed that, so he was brought to do their bidding. So any subsequent case he does, if they say, he's not being fair to NPP, no, it's a charade. The crown jewel, the most important person,
there's a lot to talk about.
Who has a lot of questions to answer, was allowed to escape. So anything that's left is chicken feed. This is the other cases, chicken feed compared to the cases against Oforiatta. So Mr. Okan said, look, in one word, what we are learning is that we would need better persons to occupy the office. That's what this whole debate is about.
And that's why you have submitted a petition in that regard, which you say has not been determined as yet, right? And so tomorrow we will be in court to also monitor the proceedings regarding the substantive matter before the Supreme Court on the issue of the prosecutorial powers of the special prosecutor, and which Noah Tete is asking questions of the Supreme Court of interpretation. Counsel, thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. Now, a number of people have been posting on this issue. And let's start off with Professor Stephen Kwekwasari. And he says he's a Development and Democracy Fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD. Says no high court can strip the OSP of prosecutorial power. The OSP is here to stay. And then also the Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, who led the team, that's the Constitutional Review Committee chair, says, Mr. Special Prosecutor, please don't appeal and don't resign. Don't even fight it in the media. Relax, cry. You and your staff should just sit tight and collect your pay and pecs and spend your budget as planned. That too counts as public service in Ghana. Don't kill yourself over this. Country broke or no broke, we all day inside. And equally, of course, he says. And then also, Kofi Bento, Vice President of Imani Africa, says the law has been used to deliver a huge blow to the fight against corruption. OSP nurture, it said, neutered, I beg your pardon. It says, I can't wait for constitutional review. Meanwhile, those being prosecuted have a new case to make, okay? And then he continues, the court which sought to overreach the Supreme Court must be called to order. And this is a big part of the conversation we've been having this evening. Why didn't the judge defer to the Supreme Court? This is a question I asked lawyer Martin Kpebu. He has expressed his view on it, as you heard him earlier. Kofi Bento also holds that view as well. Now, earlier this evening,
we ain't some who it's because of channel so mam and was so jemre. That's the so body in the Dumbi Edomania. Onya, the essential na yasumo question so.